The Kovarian Empire had ruled the Andromeda sector for 3,000 years. Their ships were elegant, their weapons precise, and their conquest methodical. When they discovered Earth, they saw primitives, a species barely reaching their own moon, fragmented into squabbling nations. Commander Vexthor stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, his crystalline eyes analyzing the blue planet below. Begin the cleansing protocol. Standard procedure: eliminate military installations, subjugate the survivors. The first wave hit Earth's cities without warning. Moscow, Beijing, Washington, London, all burned under Kovarian plasma fire. 2 billion humans died in the first 6 hours. The Kovarian fleet broadcast their surrender terms: submit or face extinction. They expected panic. They expected capitulation. What they got was silence. Then, from a bunker deep beneath the Swiss Alps, a message broadcasted across all frequencies. General Catherine Morrison's face appeared, blood trickling from a cut above her eye, but her smile was worse than any scream. "You just made," she said slowly, "the worst mistake in your species' history." Vexthor laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Your weapons are primitive. Your defenses shattered. What could you possibly—" The transmission cut to footage. Archive recordings from Earth's history. Trenches filled with gas and blood. Cities reduced to atomic shadows. Experiments too horrific to name. Children trained to kill. Oceans burned. Entire populations erased. "This," Morrison continued, "is what we do to each other. When we have rules. When we have morals. When we hold back." Her smile widened. "You just removed all our restrictions. You united 7 billion apex predators who've spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of creative violence. Congratulations," she whispered. "You've given humanity permission to stop pretending to be civilized." Vexthor felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: unease. Initiate second wave. Crush them. But in bunkers across Earth, something ancient awakened. Not hope. Not courage. Something darker. Humanity had spent centuries trying to suppress its worst instincts, building laws and ethics to contain the monster within. The Kovarians had just opened the cage. In underground laboratories, scientists abandoned all safety protocols. In military command centers, generals opened files marked "Never Use," crimes against sentience. In city ruins, survivors looked at each other with a shared understanding that chilled the blood. The gloves were off. As Kovarian ships descended for their second attack, they noticed something odd. The humans weren't running. They were smiling. They were building. They were remembering every nightmare weapon they'd locked away, every dark innovation they'd banned, every terrible lesson from their blood-soaked history. The Kovarians had unleashed hell on humanity. They were about to learn what hell looked like when humanity unleashed itself back. "They're activating what?" Vexthor's voice cracked across the war room. His intelligence officer, Krelna, displayed the data with trembling claws. "The humans call it Doctrine Midnight. It's—" "Commander, it's not a weapons system. It's a philosophy. They've suspended every treaty they had with themselves." Vexthor watched the holographic display. Across Earth, massive underground facilities roared to life. Facilities that, according to their intelligence, had been decommissioned decades ago. The Geneva Protocol, the Biological Weapons Convention, the Chemical Weapons Ban, all formally dissolved in an emergency session of the surviving human governments. "They're not just breaking their own rules," Krelna continued. "They're celebrating it. Look." The transmission showed a laboratory. A human scientist, Dr. Rebecca Torres, stood before cameras addressing the remnants of humanity. "For 50 years, I've known how to create a virus that could target specific genetic markers. For 50 years, ethics committees said no. Today, I received different orders: whatever it takes. She held up a vial filled with black liquid. This is Strain Reaper 7. It targets covariant crystalline DNA structures. Symptoms include cellular crystallization, excruciating pain, and a death that takes approximately 72 hours. We've made it airborne. Vexthor felt his confidence waver. One bioweapon won't. Commander, Krelna interrupted, something unprecedented. That's one of 3,000 projects that just went active. The humans had them ready. They just needed permission to use them. Another transmission showed a physics professor at Cambridge, working in a half-destroyed building. The Covarians use plasma-based technology. Very efficient. But we've known for decades how to create a quantum resonance field that inverts plasma containment. We never built it because it would make plasma reactors, including stars, destabilize. But Covarian ships? Their entire power system is plasma-based. We're calling it Operation Sunshine. They're going to weaponize stellar mechanics? Vexthor whispered. More reports flooded in. In Australia, engineers unveiled Project Cerberus, nanomachines designed to infiltrate enemy ships and rebuild themselves into explosive compounds using the ship's own materials. In Brazil, geneticists released Chimera protocols, combat organisms too horrific to describe, banned since 2089. In what remained of India, mathematicians solved equations for a weapon that existed purely as information, a cognitive hazard that induced permanent psychosis in anyone who saw it. These weapons, Vexthor said slowly, violate every known principle of honorable warfare. A human transmission intercepted his thought. It was Morrison again, broadcasting from her mobile command center. Honor? You glassed our cities without warning. You murdered children in their schools. You started a war of extinction. Her eyes were empty of everything except purpose. We're going to finish it. And we're going to make sure your species tells stories about this for the next 10,000 years. Behind her, Vexthor could see humans working with terrifying efficiency. No panic. No hesitation. They moved like they'd been waiting for this moment. Sir, Krelna said quietly, I'm detecting unusual activity in Earth's orbit. They're moving something from their moon base. The display showed a massive cylindrical structure. Ancient by human standards, built in their early space age. Vexthor accessed the database. That's just a colony construction project from 2095. Decommissioned. No sir, Krelna corrected. That's what they told everyone it was. I'm reading massive energy signatures consistent with, oh ancestors. What? It's a mass driver. A kinetic bombardment system. They built a weapon capable of throwing asteroids at relativistic speeds and disguised it as a construction project. Morrison's voice came through again, almost cheerful. Hey Covarians, remember how you thought kinetic weapons were too primitive? Too slow? We've had 50 years to think about that. Let me introduce you to Mjolnir Station. It throws rocks. Really, really fast rocks. The screen showed calculations. Impact velocities. Yield estimates. The numbers were apocalyptic. Retreat, Vexthor ordered. Pull back to defensive positions. But it was already too late. Humanity had spent a century preparing for the war they hoped would never come. Now it was here, and they were ready. The Covarian Third Fleet hung in high orbit, confident in their superior shields. Admiral Zexmar reviewed the battle plans, dismissing the human countermeasures as desperate. Then Earth's oceans began to boil. What's happening? Zexmar demanded. The humans, they're igniting their oceans, sir. His tactical officer's voice trembled. Correction, not igniting. They're using a molecular excitation field to convert seawater into hydrogen and oxygen, then compressing it through electromagnetic tunnels directly into orbit. The view screen showed impossible streams of superheated gas erupting from Earth's seas, guided by massive field generators. They hit Kovarian shields like battering rams. Shields holding at 70%, Tactical reported. But sir, the energy output, they're draining their oceans. Let them, Zexmar growled. They'll kill their own planet. A human transmission cut through. This one showed a young man in a torn uniform, standing in what looked like a flooded command center. Lieutenant Marcus Rivera, according to the identification. You're right, we're damaging our biosphere. Before your attack, we'd never have considered it. He grinned savagely. Thanks for simplifying our decision-making process. More reports cascaded in. Kovarian landing parties on North America reported atmospheric anomalies. Then they stopped reporting entirely. Reconnaissance showed why, the humans had released something into the air. Not a toxin, Kovarian filters could handle those. This was worse. It's prion, the Kovarian science officer reported, horror in her voice. Misfolded proteins. They're not technically alive, so our scanners didn't flag them. But they're destroying neural tissue on contact. The humans made them airborne and stable. That's impossible. Prion are fragile. Not anymore. The humans modified them. They're calling it Operation Madness. Sir, our ground forces they're tearing each other apart. The prion are making them hallucinate, turning them violent. Zexmar pulled up footage. His soldiers, elite warriors, writhing on the ground or attacking each other in blind panic. Countermeasures? None. You can't filter out proteins. They're in the air, the water, the soil. The humans have contaminated entire continents. It will take decades for the prion to degrade naturally. They've poisoned their own planet. Another transmission, this time from someone identified as Dr. James Peterson, speaking from a bunker in Colorado. Yes, we have. We're already working on the cleanup for after we win. See, that's the difference between us. You attacked thinking we'd break. We're attacking knowing we'll survive. His smile was clinical. We've survived ice ages, supervolcanoes, and ourselves. We'll survive this. You won't. The Kovarian forces on Earth's surface began their retreat, but humanity had anticipated this. From hidden silos across the planet, missiles launched. Not toward the Kovarian fleet, toward their own atmosphere. They're launching nuclear weapons at themselves? Zexmar couldn't believe it. High-altitude detonations, tactical confirmed. Creating electromagnetic pulses. Our landing craft rely on electronic systems. Sir, we're losing ships, they're falling out of the sky. The humans were using EMPs to down Kovarian vessels, accepting the electronic devastation to their own infrastructure as acceptable losses. Every crashed ship was immediately swarmed by human forces who salvaged the technology while killing the survivors. This is madness, Zexmar whispered. Civilized species don't fight like this. Another intercept, this time from General Morrison. Civilized? Oh, Admiral. You keep using that word. Let me tell you about human civilization. She pulled up historical footage. We had rules for war. The Geneva Conventions. Laws that said some things were too horrible even for combat. We followed them, mostly, for over a century. The screen showed page after page of treaties, all marked with the same stamp, suspended. You know what we called the Geneva Conventions in military circles? Morrison continued. The Geneva Suggestions. Because every single one was written in response to something we'd already done. We didn't ban chemical weapons because we couldn't make them. We banned them because we made them too well. We didn't outlaw bioweapons because we were incapable. We outlawed them because we terrified ourselves. She leaned closer to the camera. Every rule we wrote was a limitation we placed on ourselves, because we knew what we were capable of. You just removed those limitations. On Earth below, humanity was transforming. Factories that once built consumer goods now churned out weapons that violated every ethical principle. Scientists who'd spent careers healing diseases now engineered new plagues. Engineers who designed peaceful satellites now calculated kill trajectories. "Sir," the Covarian communications officer spoke up, "I'm detecting organized broadcasts across all human networks." "They're singing?" It was true. From bunkers and ruins, humans were broadcasting music. War songs from every era of their violent history. Songs about death, victory, and terrible vengeance. Zexmar finally understood. The Covarians had thought they were invading a planet. They'd actually woken something older and darker than any empire. They'd woken humanity's talent for creative violence. "Send word to the Eternal Dominion," Zexmar said quietly. "We need reinforcements. Many reinforcements." The Covarian reinforcement fleet arrived in Earth's system with overwhelming force. 500 warships, each carrying weapons that had conquered a dozen worlds. Fleet Commander Thargax reviewed the tactical situation with grim satisfaction. "The humans can't possibly withstand this assault. We'll burn their planet to bedrock if necessary." His confidence lasted exactly 4 minutes. That's when Earth's moon exploded. Not the entire moon, humanity wasn't quite that insane. But a carefully calculated section, detonated by nuclear charges buried decades ago, for mining purposes. The resulting debris field, moving at orbital velocities, tore through the Covarian formation like shrapnel through flesh. 70 ships destroyed instantly. Another 100 damaged. They weaponized their own moon? Thargax stared in disbelief. From Earth's surface, Morrison's voice crackled through. "Project Moonfall. We've had contingency plans since 2087 for every object in our solar system. Asteroids, moons, even the sun if we got desperate enough." She paused. "Want to know our backup plan? We call it Operation Last Light. If we're losing, we destabilize our sun. Go out with a bang, take you with us." "You're bluffing. You'd kill yourselves." "Admiral, we've already released bioweapons on our own planet, irradiated our own cities, and poisoned our own atmosphere. Does this look like a species that bluffs about mutual destruction?" Thargax pulled up the intelligence reports. The picture they painted was nightmare fuel. In Europe, humans had excavated something they called the Berlin Project, an antimatter production facility hidden beneath the city since 2095. They were using it to create antimatter warheads with yields that made nuclear weapons look gentle. In the Pacific, submarine drones released smart mines, autonomous weapons that learned and adapted, hunting Covarian ships with terrifying persistence. The Covarians destroyed thousands, but the mines evolved, sharing information through quantum entanglement. Each generation got smarter. "They've created artificial intelligence weapons?" "Worse," his science officer replied. "Semi-sentient killing machines." The humans banned strong AI development in 2091, but they kept the research. Now they've unleashed it. "Sir, these weapons are learning to hate." Reports from Earth's surface were even more disturbing. Covarian troops reported encountering human soldiers who seemed impervious to pain. Investigation revealed why: the humans had developed combat drugs that shut down pain receptors, suppressed fear, and enhanced aggression. The soldiers called them Berserker protocols. A transmission showed one such soldier. Captain Nicole Anderson, according to her tags, covered in Covarian blood and her own, laughing as she manually tore apart a Covarian combat mech. Her pupils were dilated to black pools, and her grin was feral. "This is what we look like," she said into the camera, "when we stop pretending to be civilized." The Covarian planetary assault on Africa met something unexpected: the environment itself was fighting back. The humans had released modified organisms, bacteria, insects, plants, all engineered to target Covarian biology. The jungle became a weapon. They've militarized their biosphere, the xenobiology officer reported. Every living thing on this planet is now hostile to us. The plants produce toxins that corrode our armor. The insects carry diseases that our immune systems can't handle. Even the bacteria in the soil is attacking our equipment. Thargax watched his invasion crumble. Not through superior technology, the Covarians still had that advantage. But through sheer, unrelenting viciousness. Humanity was fighting with a creativity born from desperation and refined through centuries of warfare against itself. A new transmission came through, this time from a human identified as Dr. Yuki Tanaka, speaking from a facility in Japan. You want to know the beautiful thing about human warfare? We never forget. Every empire, every nation, every tribe that ever existed contributed to our collective knowledge of violence. Roman tactics, Mongol strategies, Chinese warfare, European military theory, American technological doctrine, we synthesized it all. Behind her, screens showed simulations. Complex battle plans that combined ancient stratagems with cutting-edge technology. We've had centuries to study war, she continued. It's our oldest science. We know 1,000 ways to kill, 10,000 ways to destroy, and we've been adding to that list since we climbed down from the trees. Her smile was cold. You picked a fight with a species that's been at war with itself for its entire existence. We're really, really good at this. Thargax made a decision that would haunt him. Prepare the extinction weapon. If we can't conquer them, we'll sterilize the planet. But even as he gave the order, he wondered, had humanity planned for this too? Deep in Earth's bunkers, General Morrison received the intelligence report about the extinction weapon. Her response was immediate. Activate Project Phoenix. Her staff hesitated. Ma'am, that's... Do it. They want extinction. Let's show them what extinction looks like when we're the ones holding the trigger. Across Earth's solar system, hidden stations powered up. Weapons so terrible that humanity had kept them secret even from themselves, buried in classified files, known only to the highest command. The Covarians had wanted to see humanity's limits. They were about to discover humanity didn't believe in limits. The Covarian extinction weapon charged in high orbit, a crystalline sphere the size of a small moon. It would crack Earth's crust, ignite the atmosphere, and render the planet a lifeless tomb. Fleet Commander Thargax watched the power meters climb, feeling both vindicated and empty. Weapon at 70% charge, Tactical reported. Firing solution locked. Then space itself began to scream. That's the only way Thargax could describe the sound that somehow transmitted through the vacuum. His instruments went haywire as reality seemed to bend around Earth's solar system. What is that? He demanded. His science officer's face was pale. Sir, the humans just activated something at their lunar base. It's generating a gravitational anomaly. Their ancestors preserve us, they're creating an artificial black hole. That's impossible. Tell them that. The officer pointed at the screen. They're not trying to make it stable. It's intentionally unstable, designed to collapse in approximately 6 minutes. The resulting explosion will what? Will destroy everything in the solar system, including their own planet. Morrison's face appeared on their screens, and she looked almost peaceful. You were right to try the extinction weapon, Admiral. It's what we would have done. But we prepared for it. Project Phoenix. If we can't have Earth, nobody can. The black hole will evaporate in a gamma-ray burst that will sterilize everything within 2 light-years. You're killing yourselves. We're taking you with us. Humanity's final lesson, we'd rather die than kneel. She paused. You have 5 minutes to retreat beyond the blast radius. I'd start running. Thargax made a split-second decision. Power down the extinction weapon. Full retreat, maximum speed. Sir, we're abandoning the invasion. We're surviving. Move. The Kovarian fleet broke formation, fleeing at maximum velocity. Behind them, space continued to warp as the artificial singularity grew. Some ships didn't make it, pulled back by gravitational tides and crushed to atomic particles. But at the 4-minute mark, something changed. The black hole began to stabilize rather than collapse. Morrison reappeared. Congratulations, Admiral. You blinked first. The black hole is collapsing in a controlled manner. We're not going to die today. Her smile was terrifying. But you need to understand something. We were ready to do it. We would have ended ourselves just to end you. Thargax realized he'd been outplayed. The black hole had been a bluff, probably. Maybe. With humans, who could tell? This is madness, he transmitted back. Your species is insane. No, Morrison corrected. We're survivors. There's a difference. Every species in this galaxy that you've conquered probably wanted to live more than they wanted to fight. They surrendered because they valued their lives above their freedom. She leaned forward. Humans are different. We've got a saying, live free or die. We mean it literally. The Kovarian retreat continued, but Earth wasn't done. As the fleet pulled back, they encountered a new horror: the asteroid belt was moving. Humans had attached drives to hundreds of asteroids, turning them into kinetic missiles. The sheer number made them impossible to stop. They've weaponized an entire asteroid field? Thargax couldn't process it. Not just that, his officer replied. They've been working on this for decades. Each asteroid is autonomous, capable of course corrections. Sir, they turned their solar system into a minefield. The Kovarian fleet suffered massive losses retreating through the asteroid gauntlet. Ships that had survived planetary assaults were destroyed by rocks moving at terrifying velocities. A new human transmission came through, this time from a grizzled engineer named Robert McGrath, broadcasting from an asteroid mining station. You thought our space program was just for exploration? Nah. We've been preparing our solar system for defense since the 2080s. Every station, every mine, every outpost is also a weapons platform. You're not fighting a planet, Admiral. You're fighting an entire solar system that's been turned into a fortress. The truth crashed down on Thargax. Earth wasn't just one planet defending itself. It was the crown jewel of a system-wide defense network that had been built over decades, hidden in plain sight as civilian infrastructure. Sir, communications reported, we're receiving a formal transmission from Earth. It's surrender terms. They're surrendering? No, sir. They're offering us surrender terms. The document appeared on screen. It was surprisingly reasonable. Kovarian forces would be allowed to leave the system unmolested if they abandoned all territorial claims to Earth and provided technological reparations. There was one addition at the bottom, handwritten. Consider this a warning to the galaxy. Humanity is off limits. We'll share our weapons technology with anyone who asks. We've got no reason to keep secrets anymore. The next species that attacks us won't face just Earth. They'll face whatever we've built in the meantime. General Catherine Morrison. Thargax understood the implicit threat. Humanity was offering to arm other species with their nightmare weapons. The Kovarian Empire's military advantage would evaporate overnight. Accept their terms, he said quietly. And pray we never encounter them again. As the Kovarian fleet limped out of Earth's solar system, the humans began the long process of healing their world. They'd won, but at terrible cost. The planet was scarred, the population decimated, the environment poisoned. But they'd survived. And they'd sent a message to the galaxy that would echo for millennia. 6 months after the Kovarian retreat, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from 47 species filled the chamber, all watching the same footage, battlefield recordings from Earth. Ambassador Thelvor of the Meridian Collective spoke first, his voice shaking. The Council must address the human question. What we've witnessed is unprecedented. On the holographic display, scenes of the war played out. Chemical weapons, biological horrors, kinetic bombardments, and weapons that defied conventional understanding. The assembled species watched in silence. They violated every principle of civilized warfare, a delegate from the Praxis Union declared. They must be sanctioned. Sanctioned? Ambassador Kalani Rodriguez of Earth stood, her presence commanding silence. You want to sanction us for defending ourselves against an unprovoked genocide? She was young for a diplomat, but the war had aged her. Like all the human survivors, she carried scars, both visible and not. You released bioweapons on your own planet, Thelvor accused. After the Covarians killed 2 billion of us without warning, Rodriguez countered. Did you miss that part? They attacked a species that hadn't even achieved FTL travel. They glassed our cities, murdered our children, and declared their intention to exterminate us. Her voice hardened. And you want to sanction us for fighting back too effectively? The council chamber erupted in debate. Finally, High Arbiter Zenlar called for order. The question before us is not who started the war, but how it was conducted. Humanity deployed weapons that this council banned millennia ago. Rodriguez laughed, a bitter sound. You banned them after you'd already used them. Don't pretend moral superiority. Every species in this room has a dark history. The difference is, we're honest about ours. She activated her own display. The Meridian Collective used nuclear weapons in their civil war 3,000 years ago. The Praxis Union experimented with genetic warfare during their colonial period. The Corvith hegemony, don't think we haven't found your classified files, developed targeted nanoweapons just last century. The representatives shifted uncomfortably. The only difference, Rodriguez continued, is that you had time to hide your sins behind treaties and pretend you evolved past them. We didn't have that luxury. We were fighting for survival against an enemy that wanted extinction. So yes, we used every weapon in our arsenal. We used weapons we'd banned ourselves. We became monsters. She paused. And we'd do it again. This is exactly why humanity must be contained, Thelvor argued. You're too dangerous, too willing to abandon ethics. Ethics? Rodriguez's voice could have cut steel. Where were your ethics when the Covarians attacked us? Where was the council? Where was the intervention, the sanctions, the military aid? She looked around the chamber. You watched. You waited to see if we'd survive. And now that we have, now that you've seen what we're capable of, you want to chain us. She pulled up new data. Since the war ended, 17 species have contacted us privately. Not to condemn us. To ask for our weapons technology. Because they're afraid. Afraid of their neighbors, afraid of the Covarian Empire, afraid of being the next target. The chamber fell silent. We've agreed to share, Rodriguez said simply. Non-exclusive licensing of our defense technologies. Anyone who wants them can have them. Free of charge. You can't be serious, Zenlar said. You'd arm the galaxy with your nightmare weapons? Better than letting bullies like the Covarians run rampant. You want to know what we learned from this war? That having overwhelming force isn't enough. You need the will to use it, and the creativity to make every shot count. She smiled coldly. We have both. And now, so will anyone who asks. The implications rippled through the council. The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting. There's another matter, Rodriguez continued. Earth is withdrawing from consideration for council membership. We're not interested in joining your organization. Not after you left us to die. She let that sink in. Instead, we're forming our own coalition. The Terran Defense Pact. Species are already signing up. Small worlds, frontier colonies, anyone who's tired of being prey. We'll provide mutual defense and share military technology. You're fracturing galactic unity, Thelvor accused. No. We're providing an alternative to your unity, which is just the strong exploiting the weak with fancy words. Rodriguez gathered her materials. Humanity is done playing by rules written to favor established powers. We're writing our own rules now. She turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. The Covarian Empire has been trying to save face, claiming the war was a draw. So we're releasing all the battlefield footage. Every engagement, every Covarian retreat, every weapon we used. The galaxy will see exactly what happened when they picked a fight with humanity. You're declaring diplomatic war on the Covarians? Zenlar asked, shocked. No. We're declaring honesty. The Covarians started a war of extermination and lost. They should own that. Rodriguez headed for the door. Earth fought dirty, fought mean, and fought to win. We're not ashamed. We're alive. After she left, the council sat in stunned silence. Finally, one delegate spoke. What have we done? We've given humanity a legitimate grievance and shown them we're not reliable allies. Zenlar pulled up intelligence reports. The Terran Defense Pact was already gaining members. 12 species in just 3 weeks, all eager to access human military innovation. We haven't just lost humanity, Zenlar said quietly. We've created a rival power bloc, armed with the most creative and ruthless military minds in the galaxy. In space above Earth, construction crews worked on new defense stations. Bigger, meaner, and equipped with weapons that made the war's arsenal look primitive. Humanity was building, learning, and preparing. They'd won one war. They weren't going to risk losing the next. 5 years after the Covarian War, the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Ambassador Rodriguez sat in her office on the newly constructed Olympus station, orbiting Earth, reviewing intelligence reports. The Terran Defense Pact now included 43 species, and the number grew monthly. Small worlds, former Covarian subjects, even a few Covarian colonial populations that had rebelled. All united under a simple principle: mutual defense through overwhelming, creative force. Her aide, Commander Jackson Okoye, entered with the latest data. The Covarian Empire just lost another 3 systems. Their subjects are using our weapons specs to fight back. Rodriguez smiled grimly. Good. How's the Galactic Council taking it? They're concerned. Thelvor requested another meeting. He's calling us destabilizing. We are destabilizing. That's the point. She pulled up a star chart. Half the galaxy was now split between the old council powers and the new pact. For 3,000 years, the strong preyed on the weak and called it order. We're giving the weak teeth. A transmission came through from Mars, where Dr. Torres was leading a research symposium. Ambassador, you're going to want to see this. Our allies have been sending us their historical weapons data. We're synthesizing it with our own research. Show me. The display showed nightmare innovations. Energy weapons that learned and adapted, biological agents that targeted specific genetic markers, information warfare tools that could crash entire planetary networks. But there was something else too: defensive technologies. Shields that converted incoming fire to useful energy. Medical treatments that could revive soldiers from near death. Agricultural systems that could feed billions in irradiated wastelands. We're not just building weapons, Torres explained. We're building a new type of civilization. One that's prepared for anything. Rodriguez understood. Humanity had learned a terrible lesson: peace wasn't the natural state of the universe. It was something you maintained through strength and vigilance. Another transmission, this time from an unexpected source. It was Vexthor, the Kovarian commander from the war's beginning. He looked older, his crystalline features dimmed. "Ambassador Rodriguez, I'm contacting you in an unofficial capacity. The Kovarian Empire is dying. Our former subjects are rebelling. Our economy is collapsing. Our people are losing faith in the system." He paused. "Was this your intention? To destroy us?" Rodriguez considered her words carefully. "No, Commander. Our intention was to survive. What's happening to your empire is a consequence of your actions. You proved that might doesn't make right. Your subjects learned that lesson and applied it. I'm told you're offering humanitarian aid to Kovarian refugees. Why? We tried to exterminate you. Because we're not you. We fight like demons when attacked, but we don't kick people when they're down. That's the other lesson we wanted to teach." She leaned forward. "Here's what's going to happen, Vexthor. The Kovarian Empire will fall. But the Kovarian people don't have to. We're offering protectorate status to any Kovarian worlds that want it. No strings attached, well, one string. No more imperialism. You'd protect us? After everything? We'd protect you from yourselves, mostly. And from anyone else who thinks falling empires are easy pickings." Rodriguez smiled slightly. "Humanity learned something important: breaking things is easy. Building things is hard. We're trying to be builders now." The transmission ended, and Rodriguez turned back to the intelligence reports. The galaxy was still dangerous. The Council still resented humanity's disruption of the old order. There were species out there that saw the Pact as a threat. But there were also species that saw humanity for what it really was: survivors who'd learned to thrive. Commander Okoye spoke up. General Morrison sent a message. "She's retiring, returning to civilian life. Says the war's over and she wants to spend time with her grandkids." Rodriguez felt a wave of relief. Morrison had been the face of humanity's wartime fury. Her retirement symbolized something important: the possibility of moving beyond survival mode. "Send her my congratulations. She earned it." On Earth below, the reconstruction continued. Forests grew in irradiated zones, thanks to engineered organisms. Cities rose from ruins, built with advanced materials traded from allied species. The scars would never fully heal.